Office legend lied on a live incident bridge. One calm screen capture and a clean timeline flipped the room and turned karma into policy. Hit like, tap subscribe, and ring the bell. More unbelievable true-life revenge stories are coming your way. On paper, Shane was a legend. 40 years in and 5 from retirement, the team guru everyone swore could debug a black hole with a paperclip. When I joined our global support team in the UK, 7 years experience, not green but new to the company. His name lived in every onboarding call. When you were stuck, go to Shane. First, it checked out. He knew the dusty corners of our legacy stack, kept scripts older than some interns, and could recite incident IDs from 2009 like nursery rhymes. The team was kind, especially Mel, my phone a friend across the Atlantic who, in my view, matched him pound for pound on actual knowledge. From her one in-person meeting. He was 450 pounds, often on oxygen, privately racing the clock to keep coverage until retirement. Fine, I thought. We all have storms to navigate. Then the company pivoted. New product line, new tooling, new certifications. I dove in headfirst, late nights, labs, brown bag sessions because a clean slate is the fairest field. The guru did not. Meetings turned brittle. One afternoon when I rejoined late from a customer call, he cut in with, "Nice of him to grace us with his presence." In email he CC'd our boss to nitpick commas. Felt petty, but survivable. I figured the work would speak. The fluorescent hum in the office, the smell of warm plastic from the printers, the weight of the headset. All of it said keep going. Onboarding did not just say his name. It linked to a wiki page titled Legacy with his notes in a clipped, teacherly tone and a runbook binder scan page by page. I highlighted sections on my screen and dropped questions into our internal chat, saving the thread as my own little breadcrumb trail. I did not know he would try to rewrite the script live while 100 managers listened. The pivot made me the new software guy by accident and effort. Tickets found me. Field engineers pinged me. My name rose on the dashboard like an unpaid bill. Mel joked I had become the adult in the room when the new stack misbehaved. That is when the sniping turned into sabotage light. Shane would reply all to technical summaries with non-sequiturs, question wording on postmortems he had not read, or announce in stand-up that he had heard concerns about my approach. Never specifics, always smoke. The tinny echo of the incident bridge made every insinuation feel wetter, heavier. Mel rang one afternoon. "What is your beef with him?" "None," I said. She would ask around. Weeks later she called back, voice tight. He had bragged to her about putting that smart-arse punk in his place. Why? Because I was taking his role. I laughed, then tasted metal. He had opted out. Then a 7-figure service-level commitment dangled over our heads like a guillotine. A major outage tore through the new platform. The incident bridge swelled past 100 listeners. VPs, directors, program leads. Our manager split us into tiger pairs. She put me with Shane. I muted, swore under my breath, and unmuted as a professional. 10 minutes into our side call, the truth crystallized. He knew nothing about the new estate. Not the logs. Not the health checks. Not even the patching workflow. He needed hand-holding for basics. I shared my screen, narrated every pivot, tunneled through services and log streams until the culprit blinked at us. A bad patch. "We wait for senior approval to roll back," I said, and I typed it into the incident notes so it lived somewhere findable. His icon went gray. Glitch, I thought. I did not yet see the knife. I rejoined the main bridge ready to brief Cleanly. Root cause identified, rollback path known, risk assessed. Instead I walked into a firing squad. The incident manager detonated on me. "Why did you deploy incorrectly? Why did you refuse the fix?" Refuse? Deploy incorrectly? My brain stuttered. Then Shane's tile lit as he narrated a fiction. He had coached me to the cause. I had made an error. And I was hesitant to remediate. Heads nodded. Because tenure. Because myth beats evidence when people do not know where the bodies are buried. My boss protested. Her voice was a drop in a waterfall. I ate a public dressing down and a formal verbal warning. My first in a decade. While chat filled with clapping emoji reactions and, "Nice catch, Shane." He collected a commendation for saving the day I had actually saved. When the bridge ended, I stared at my monitor until my reflection looked like a stranger. Anger is loud. Humiliation is quiet and heavy. Later, Mel called in a whisper. He had rung her after the bridge to bask. "Put that kid in his place." My hands shook, not from rage now but alignment. I finally understood the shape of his resentment. He would rather burn my career than learn a new stack. If only we had a recording, Mel sighed. Skype announces them, we both knew. I said carefully, there are other ways to capture the truth. The bridge recording icon glowed in the corner like an indifferent eye. A minute later, an email from the HR portal appeared, formal and bloodless, memorializing the verbal warning. I saved it to a folder tab labeled Incidents. This is not accurate, I said into the quiet, but the quiet belongs to nobody on a call that size. My boss DM'd me a single line, I know the truth, document everything. And I typed back, on it. That is when the plan arrived, simple and mean as a scalpel. If he wanted to perform for an audience, I would give him one. If he wanted applause, he would earn silence instead. I pinged him, have a minute to talk? He replied with a smiley. When the call began, I said evenly, heads up, recording. The Skype banner appeared. He slipped into HR-safe platitudes. Sorry, I felt upset. Unfortunate misunderstandings. We should loop in management. I went straight at it anyway. You lied on the bridge. He cooed something about perspectives. Okay, I said, stopping the recording now. Click, banner gone. Now Skype is not recording. I let the silence lengthen. You know exactly what you did. Masks are hard work. They itch. His slipped almost audibly. He exhaled and said the quiet part out loud. That I needed to respect long-serving people, that he would put me in my place again if needed, that the new stack was shiny nonsense, and that he was 2 years from retirement, not starting over. I did not spare him. I called him a dinosaur, coasting on reputation while others carried his pager. He snorted. You think you own this now? Watch yourself. Speaking of new software, I said, ever heard of OBS? Google it. I hung up. When I toggled the screen recorder, a red dot ticked on the taskbar. 3 minutes later, Slack messages arrived like hailstones. He begged. Do not share it. He would lose his retirement package, his medical coverage. I would ruin him. My hands hovered over the keyboard, not because I doubted the next step, but because I suddenly understood the stakes he had hidden behind his cruelty. After we hung up, I wrote a clean summary with timestamps and pasted relevant chat lines. Then I dropped the bundle into an internal wiki page under a folder tab named Incidents, so it would not vanish into rumor. I did not add adjectives. I did not spike the football. I let his words do their own gravity. Corporate investigations are not cinematic. They are slow, meticulous, and suffocating. HR and InfoSec scheduled interviews, pulled bridge recordings and chat logs, audited our tickets. The Skype half recording and the screen capture clip were a match set. The mask, then the man. Managers who had praised him on the bridge suddenly remembered how often my name appeared in successful changes and hotfixes. His mentoring emails wilted under timestamps. My warning was quietly rescinded and purged. The commendation he had pocketed was unpinned. 2 weeks later, he was terminated for misconduct. He applied to convert it to early retirement. The company refused. The day the announcement hit our team channel, a terse "we wish him well in his future endeavors." I closed my laptop and just breathed. It was not triumph. It was decompression. Mel rang that evening. Her voice a complicated knot. Relief, vindication, and something darker. She told me he had confided in her months earlier about debts stacked like bad Jenga. The retirement package had been the duct tape holding his life together. Without it, the oxygen machine, the meds, the steady doctor appointments, each turned into a billboard with a price tag. Do you regret it? She asked. I watched the ceiling fan spin. I regret he made it necessary, I said. And I regret he chose me as the thing to break because learning felt harder. Both can be true. The inbox stayed quiet for the first time in a year. Quiet is underrated. I had a choice, and it was not between revenge and forgiveness. It was between theater and repair. I could spike the ball, drag his name through every hallway, and feel nothing change, or I could make the system better so myth could not beat receipts again. I wrote the choice in my notebook, ink scratching like rain on glass, and I circled the word repair. First, I sent my boss a clean timeline and a short note. No gloating, only fixes. She answered within minutes with a simple agreed. Second, I forwarded compliance the screen capture summary and asked, plainly, was my documentation within policy? The reply pinged like a pin dropped on tile. A short email confirming my evidence fit our internal guidance. Third, I built a change note template that forced us to attach logs, health check screenshots, and rollback criteria so future bridges would not run on folklore. The office smelled of burnt coffee and printer dust while I copied the template into the runbook binder and added a bright tab labeled practice. Mel called that evening. "So what now, saint of receipts?" she teased. "Now we teach," I said. "And we rebuild trust without rewriting history." She went quiet, then said, "He will not be the last legend who refuses to learn." Outside, rain tapped the window in soft Morse. My screen dimmed, and a new calendar invite slid into view. A leadership debrief titled simply Lessons. I clicked accept and opened a blank slide marked takeaways, then stopped, palms flat on the desk, because a new message appeared from HR with a subject line that made my breath snag. Appeal received. I could almost hear static in the room though I was alone. The air felt ionized, the way it does before lightning. I whispered to the monitor, "We will handle this like adults," and took a photo of the whiteboard notes as another little artifact of intent. Preparation felt like laundry day for the soul. Gather every mess, wash in order, fold without judgment. I opened a fresh slide deck titled What Failed, What Fixed, What Changed, and I pasted timestamp passages from the bridge transcript, the Slack export, and the incident notes, all anonymized except for roles. I printed a short packet for the runbook binder and tucked a bright sticky tab at the top so a weary future me could find it fast. The calendar invite thumped my inbox again with updated attendees. Leadership had multiplied. My stomach did a small hollow drum. Mel pinged. "You sure you want to be the face of this?" "I want the process to be the face," I typed back. Between slides I read our policy booklet and highlighted 2 quiet lines on recordings and documentation, then stapled a copy to the packet like armor. The fluorescent lights hummed. The projector warmed in a low whir. A dry marker squeaked across a glass board as I wrote 3 verbs in block letters. Clarify, codify, practice. I built a 1-page checklist for incident managers, a tiny thing with boxes for health check screenshots, rollback criteria, and who decides. I dropped the file into the wiki under a folder tab named Practice and linked it at the top of the legacy page so nobody could claim they had not seen it. Before I left, I recorded a 1-minute run-through on my phone so I could hear the rhythm. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. At home, the kettle clicked and the first hiss of steam rose. I poured tea, sat by the window, and read the HR appeal. It framed the termination as discrimination against tenure and health. I breathed slow, circled the claims, and added them to my notes under the header assertions versus evidence. Then I set 3 alarms for the morning and laid the slide deck on my desk, because the invite had one more line I had almost missed. Executive observers present. The room rustled and then settled. I breathed once, told the story straight, and kept it to verbs, not villains. I pointed to the timeline, showed where the chain of command blurred, and where the rollback decision should have been automatic. Heads nodded in that careful way that says a culture is learning a new word. We were halfway through when someone cracked the door and hissed, "Bridge is live." New incident on the new platform. The projector hummed as I closed it. My boss said, evenly, "Lead us." I opened the hotfix checklist on the big display, spun up the health checks, and asked the bridge to confirm scope in 1 sentence. A field engineer replied, "Auth failing in the East region. Last changed 20 minutes ago." Mel typed, "Rollback per policy?" And I answered, "Confirm who decides." The incident manager said, "You do." So I read the criteria out loud, checked them off in the shared note, and called the rollback. The logs scrolled like rain on a windshield. The room smelled faintly of ozone from the equipment rack. 2 breaths later, the monitors turned green. The bridge quieted to that relieved silence that feels like a held note resolving. I wrote a crisp summary in the incident notes, attached 3 screenshots, and updated the impacted customer list with the exact window. Then I reopened the slide deck, pointed to the 3 verbs on the board, and said, "That right there is why we practice." In the back, an executive observer closed his notebook and looked at my boss. He did not speak, but the meaning was louder than any applause. Still, when the call ended, HR pinged me to come by for a quick follow-up, and the word follow sounded heavier than it should. The HR office smells like new folders and lemon cleaner, a scent that wants you to behave. The investigator had my file open to a tidy summary. Warning rescinded, commendation reassigned, training scheduled. She slid across a letter that read like cool water. My record was cleared in full, and my performance rating adjusted to reflect incident leadership. Then she said there would be one more entry. My notes had sparked a policy change on recordings and on bridge documentation, creating a standing repository for summaries and artifacts. She thanked me for the restraint in my wording. I nodded and stared at the table grain until the lines looked like a river. On the way out, my phone buzzed with a new message from an address that used to belong to him. It was a short apology that never used the word sorry. A knot of pride and fear and blame that ended with a plea to forward a reference. I stood in the hallway listening to the air handler rumble and felt the tug that decent people feel when someone who hurt them asks for relief. I forwarded the note to HR and asked, "How do we respond within policy and basic humanity?" The reply came back measured. "Send a neutral employment verification only and do not engage further." I sent the verification and closed the thread. Later, Mel sent me a photo of the updated runbook binder with a new tab labeled Incident Lessons and a doodled star next to it. She texted, "You okay?" And I wrote back, "Mostly." She replied, "Then do one kind thing for yourself tonight." I put my badge on the counter, turned off every notification, and poured cold water over ice until the glass sang. Because the appeal had not disappeared yet, and the next move would not be mine. Time moved the way it does after storms. Slowly at first, then all at once. The team adjusted to the new runbook like shoes that fit. Bridges were quieter now, full of checklists and calm voices. I pinned the postmortem template to the top of the wiki and taped a yellow note above my monitor that simply said "Keep receipts." The afternoons sounded different. Keys in a steady rhythm, like rain that knows where to fall. When rookies asked questions, I pointed them to the binder, then sat with them anyway because process does not replace warmth. I told them, "Ask out loud. Process is a ladder, not a wall." Mel started ending shifts with a ritual she called the exhale. 2 minutes of quiet, 1 breath, 1 line of gratitude. People smiled, and the dashboard stayed boring, which is a kind of grace. I still think about the man who weaponized a room rather than learn a new tool, and about the fragile scaffolds people build to survive. Accountability is not cruelty. It is a promise to the next person that we will tell the truth even when it rattles the furniture. If you ever end up on a bridge like that, choose verbs over villains, and keep your receipts neat. On my desk, the binder lay open to a page streaked with highlighter and coffee rings, proof that tools get used when they live where eyes land. At home, I threw away the note with his name in angry letters. The trash lid thumped closed, a small percussion for closure. I am not proud of the harm that came to him, only of the line I kept. No lies, no theater, just evidence and fair process, even when my voice shook. What would you have done in my place? And where would you draw the line between empathy and boundaries? Drop your take in the comments, and thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, and ring the bell so you never miss the next story, and above all, stay awesome.